Oh, I want to get pumped up. Oh. Mm, 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 mm.
Oh man, I'm ready, man. I'm ready. Get this up out of here, man. Good afternoon, PV Nation. How we feeling this afternoon?
I see Jared's in the chat. What's good, Jared? Uncle Jimmy's in the chat. What's good, Unc? Better buckle up that chin strap and make sure the mouthpiece is fitting. Spread option running offense coming 40 plus games. I know that's right, Unc. Hey, look, we're gonna get you on the sideline with a headset. We're gonna get you on the sideline with a headset, Unc. Just be ready on Saturday. We're gonna pick you up. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Oh
we're
man,
gonna we're gonna need all the help we can get in Houston this weekend. I say it like that.
yeah, man. It's definitely gonna be a interesting game to say the least, but we'll talk about that here in a second, man. Kaylor, how are you?
I've had better days. I'll put it like that. I've had better days. Good afternoon, Mr. Darius. I've had better days. We the toughest losses for me to handle are not the blowout losses. It's the ones when you lose by a walk-off touchdown, a walk-off home run, a game-winning shot. Those are the ones that sting and sit with you the most. However, I do believe that my team will be able to learn a lot from this weekend and what went on at home. I know we got a few topics before we break it down, but hey, the verdict still is not out yet on UTRGV. I would love to see them play a few more games towards the end of the season, and something's telling me at the end of the year we're going to be looking back at this and saying, you know what, it wasn't that bad of a loss.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, that's good to hear that you're doing well. I would say for myself, I know we were both at the game. We pretty much
Yeah.
sat a row from each other. Um, I think that what this showed me is that we have the ability to come back for the second week in a row. But it also showed me that we don't need to continue to keep starting off cold.
Right.
We spotted the team 17 points, which was 17, really 20 points, 20 points too many. And it I think that QB1, right? I call them QB1 and 1A, as in Peters and Carter. I think that Peters just had, I think we saw a little bit of what we saw last year. Whereas one week he looks like Superman, the next week is kind of like, I think he forgets that we're playing a football game just a little bit. And I don't know if he just gets in his head. And like I said, we'll talk about it. But all in all, I think the environment was great. It could be better.
Mm-hmm.
The attendance count, I'm not sure if that was fully accurate. To
Right.
me, it felt a little bit light, but my expectations are high because I know that we can just simply do better. It's not like, we don't have the people, the sheer number of people.
Right.
So definitely want to encourage PB Nation to show up this week at Rice. It's a museum district. I know it's an Uber's drive away from my house, so I'll be catching an Uber. I already got my ticket. And let's go ahead and support the team. We played them in I think it was 18 or 17. We brought a really good crowd. Let's continue to keep that going. I know the alumni affairs is doing a tailgate, so make sure you register for that before the game, and let's come out and have a good time, and really support the Panthers. And just to kind of preview this game, the
Right.
last time we played Rice, as y'all know, we lost by 3 points, three
Yep.
punts, and really we gave that game away because of I can't remember the exact situation, but I think it had something to do with the long snapper. And so,
Yep.
all in all, we were 3 points away from the first SWAC FBS upset since 1985 when
Right.
Grambling beat Oregon State. We want to make history. We want to right the ship. TSU had us beat week 1, right? We just so happen to have a valiant effort in the end. Last week, UTRGV, we spotted them points. We gave them the lead that we should not have, and had plenty of ample attempts to win that game, and we gave that game away. Let's
Yep.
not do that anymore. And I think from a fan perspective, just being in the house, showing your support, getting on your feet, making some noise will help us have a little bit more predictive outcomes. And obviously, the games have to be played, and the players have to play, and the coaches have to coach. But that's
Right.
my thought process on that. We can actually roll into a game that I know for myself, I was personally interested in seeing,
Right.
just to see how we look as a conference, right?
Right.
Hate aside, I know we've been beefing with Jackson. They don't like us, and we don't like them, right? But all in all, we still share this conference that we founded called the SWAC, and we want to see a good effort in those opponents. So, tell me what you think. The final score was 38-20. Jackson, got 3 in first quarter. They got a touchdown in the second quarter, and then they scored 10 in quarter 4. Whereas USM had 2 tubs in the first quarter, 3 points in the second, and then after the half, they brought up a touchdown in the third quarter and 2 touchdowns in the fourth. So tell me what you think about the game. How you think how do you think that what you pick up from that game with JSU
So
and USM?
I'm gonna be just transparent. Do I believe Jackson played to the best of their ability? Yes. Did they also let me down? 100%. Uh, their defense is the best thing about their football team. Much respect to it, especially number 6, Mr. Quincy Ivory, right? Who will most likely win Defensive Player of the Year in the SWAC. However, I had no idea that they were going to get gashed and bruised from the passing game. Uh, the quarterback for Southern Miss, Braylon Braxton, you would have thought the guy looked like Peyton Manning out there.
Mm,
Everybody seemed to be wide open. Wide receivers seemed to be wide open. They had multiple guys catch for these passes, and they're just taking it to the house, it feels like, or they're getting these 20-yard gains, 30-yard gains, and they just couldn't seem to put an end to it. I was just expecting a lot more defensively from them. Offensively, it pretty much was the same. Their passing game really is non-existent, and they really rely on their talented running backs. I believe, if I'm correct, what is that gentleman's last name? Ahmad Miller. He
yeah,
didn't
there you
have
go.
the game that I thought he was going to have. He may have had an injury here or there, but once Southern Miss knew that they had to make Jackson throw the ball, and they were figured out, it pretty much went downhill from there. So I did learn a lot about Jackson, and I believe Southern Miss showed us the way to really kind of beat them and be able to have us compete when we get closer towards that SWAC championship game.
Yeah, well, yeah, as y'all have probably picked up, my favorite stat line is the time of possession. To me, that really gives a general idea, even if you didn't watch the game, of who controlled the game. And believe it or not, Jackson controlled the time of possession of this game with 31 minutes, whereas USM had 28. But once again, we've seen even in our own games, even if you do or do not control time of possession, right, it's the team that's most efficient, the team that makes the right grabs, right? And I think Jackson's defense is what it is. It is what it's always been. It's a tough and staunch defense. And from what I've heard, I didn't get a chance to really watch most of the game like I wanted to, but what I've heard, they played well. But that FBS depth, having more scholarships, and ultimately just not being able to get it done on the
Yep.
offensive side of the ball, and really, you didn't really get it rolling until the fourth quarter. It looks to be a repeat behavior with Jackson, right? They
Yep.
played Hampton close, and then they didn't pull away until towards the end of the game. So I think, similar to kind of our issue, maybe one could say a cold start, not really being able to put it together early has kind of been detrimental for them. And the defense keeping them in the game is what's kind of made it manageable. But nonetheless, I think it's a respectable score. I think it's a respectable effort. And you always love to see, SWAC teams kind of go out and obviously we want to beat them. And to see really two games this year, where this game and the Alabama State UAB game, where, hey, it's been within a respectable difference compared to some of the other games that have been played, 70-0 Grambling State.
Right.
Uh, it really says, okay, if we can schedule the right situation with these group of five programs, these lower tier FBS programs, the ULMs, the UL Lafayettes, right? Sam Houston's, right?
Right.
Then we can not only get the paycheck, it may not be as large of a payout, but also have a real chance at beating them, right? If depending on the program and the resources, et cetera. So, all in all, I would say it's a good showing. Could be better, could be a win, but hey, I'm sure they have to be proud at the effort they gave.
No, definitely. One thing that I want to mention, Darius had brought this up. JSU and Southern secondary seem to be suspect. Now, I am willing to make the argument. I'm starting to see a DB problem in the SWAC just kind of all together, in the sense that I'm seeing a lot of DBs in the SWAC struggle with tackling, struggle in man coverage, and struggle guarding in man coverage without any penalties. I'm not a DB coach. I didn't play much DB when I did play football, so I can't really break down and really kind of give everyone an understanding as to why that's happening. I will inquire with a few other people that I know who know a tremendous amount more about the game than me. But I'm noticing that these secondaries, when we're going into these FBS games, that is what they're attacking. They're not just, I remember back in the day, they would just try to run the ball down our throats and out physical us. Now they're saying, hey, you guys aren't athletic enough. You guys don't have enough finesse to go out there and guard us one-on-one for 4 quarters straight. And that is something that I want to see improve, not only for us, because, we aren't absolved of that problem either, but the entire SWAC. That's where I'm seeing us all lacking as a conference.
Right. I couldn't agree with you more, and it's still early, right? Let's kind of revisit this topic in, maybe 2 or 3 weeks to really get a better assessment of what these teams really are. Some folks have had key injuries in key positions. That's ever changing kind of wheel. We've had to play up in a lot of regards, or what have you. So I'd be curious to kind of let's take a note of that and definitely circulate back. But the next game is really the game that
Man, game of the week.
you knew what was going to happen. Knew what was going. My grandmama and them knew what was going to happen, and guess what? It happened. Okay, what game am I talking about? The ASU. Okay, the Hornets. Then it came and stung them to death down in Baton Rouge. Okay. That game definitely. I mean, I think the box score tells one story, and from what I've been picking up, just kind of listening to different folks around the media space and kind of going back and looking at clips, I think the box score tells one story, but the game being played tells another.
Yep.
Some people are saying, "Hey, I'm not as impressed with Bama State. They're not what I thought they would be." I'll say some folks have gone on and said they are beatable. But
Right.
I would say you actually have to beat them to say that.
Right.
I think that at the end of the day, the game, it looked to start pretty slow, but eventually, kind of the second half, that separation happened. And you got to think, what's going to happen over in Baton Rouge. What are those folks going to do? Now they have a new co-offensive coordinator, elevating Coach McNair, which, the truth be told, he didn't call plays outside of maybe certain situations from what G talked about on
Right.
SWAC the Fool at Alcorn.
Right.
Right. I think the last time he called plays he was probably at Millsaps
Yep.
College. So you got to think, hey, this seems to be I'm hitting the panic button if I'm Coach Graves. Like I need to figure this out and try to get some kind of momentum to keep my job. Right.
Yep.
Because that's where, by all indications, that's where it's at. And it is in football chaos. We talked, and I'll let you. This is my last point, and then we can kind of go back and forth. But we talked about offline. Southern, they have some talented players.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it still remains to be seen, in my opinion. Um, do they have that level of Kelby Givens talent across the board for the entire defense, right? For the entire D line? Outside of the same few guys you call the Trey Hollies, Herman Brooks the thirds, etc., right? Some of those guys have gotten injuries, and you're rolling into Fresno State, with those guys all the way out. Um, so, what does that look like? I'm curious to see. I think if there's a week to try to figure something out, this is it. And hey, we'll definitely see what happens. But what do you think about that game? I know I went long, but what do you think about that game
You
down
know,
there? Bruce?
you know, there was a phrase that was used last year when we lost to TSU, lost to Southern, lost to Pine Bluff. The term was used was dead man walking. And that's in reference to the coach over there, Mr. Terrence Graves. And not only do they have a coaching problem, they have a pure talent problem. They
Mm,
lack depth. They lack physicality on the O line and D line. They have no quarterback. They have a running back. However, it's hard to give the running back the ball when you're down 17 every game. And Coach Frederick is a former offensive coordinator of ours who has had success in the West, as he did last year. However, one thing that they forgot and what people fail to mention is when Mark Frederick was calling those same 4 plays, that inside zone, the play action post, and all of that, we had one of the best offensive lines in Prairie View history. Southern does not have that. Watching this game, not only was the first half absolutely terrible on both sides, I feel like Andrew Body honestly played a very, very sloppy game to say that he was playing Southern. Southern cannot generate any offense no matter what they do. And I feel bad that they try to make Cameron McCoy something that he's not. They try to make him drop back and throw 30 times a game. They're not giving him the right amount of QB powers. They're not giving him any QB sweeps. They just got him running straight up the middle and seeing what he can do. And with a coach like Coach Robinson at Alabama State, that's not flying. And they're known to have one of the better defenses in the SWAC the last, I would say, 4 to 5 years. So watching this game only proved one thing to me. Southern is probably the worst team we have this year in the SWAC. Them,
mm.
Bethune, the verdict hasn't came out on Pine Bluff yet, but just from a coaching and talent aspect, those 3 teams I mentioned are at the bottom of the barrel.
Mm. Well, I think that, and yes, do I get pleasure in seeing Southern crumble? Absolutely. But taking that aside for a second, at the end of the day, doing the same thing, expecting a different result, it ain't gonna ever work, right? And it's not like us PV fans didn't tell y'all, okay, y'all think y'all are taking our coach or whatever. It, we know what's gonna happen. Y'all are gonna be very frustrated. Mark my words. And I think last year really masked a lot of issues because I can speak for
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. We gave them that game.
Yep.
There's nothing about that, and I would even go on record to say that a lot of their fans would tell you we gave them that game. Texas Southern gave them the victory. I was at the Texas Southern game that year, right? Watching that play out in real time, right? So we told y'all what it was. It's not gonna be anything extravagant. Um, years, but those are 2 different situations from program to program. So, and I actually, I can you pull up Elvin's comment? Because I think that's a very good point. The one he talked about, why would I give my replacement? The one before that.
Oh, I got you.
I think this is a very good point, right? But I only think it's a very good point if you know what you're doing. Um, and I don't. Coach Graves is a respected coach. He's been in the SWAC a long time. Blah blah blah. Been a coach, all that stuff. But I believe in calling a spade a spade. I think that this is a unique challenge for him that he may not have been quite as ready as he thought he is, and it's showing. Right. So let me ask you this, bro. If you're Coach Graves in this situation, right? What are you doing to try to right the ship? Because word on the street is by homecoming, by the time we play them
Yep.
that night, he could be locked out of the office like Dooley was.
Mm-hmm.
So, what would you do if you're in his shoes?
Shoot. You know, prayer. There's nothing else to do. The stuff you had control over, you were supposed to take care of that in January, February, March, April, May. Recruiting, recruiting, recruiting. You did not go out and get the guys. And you didn't really recruit Trey Holly. He just happened to fall in your lap. So other than that, I just don't understand how you win the SWAC West. Some of those games you barely won in the sense of, you went to PV, you got an overtime win. You have some upset wins at the end, and you don't retool. You don't go out and get the players that you need in order to at least compete with Jackson. They had the goal and the audacity to sit there and say, you know what? Let's run it back. And that was the worst mindset to have. And I'm sick and tired of these old SWAC habits dying hard. It's good to see. However, they always die hard in the same pitiful way every single time. The old school SWAC mentality, I'm gonna go hire my partner over here who I used to coach with back at Grambling when we were GAs. That does not work all the time. You got to have an equally yoked coach who not only has experience, but also is able to consistently bring in talent. Don't be surprised if next year they're going to try to have a PV approach. This is what they love to do. They can't get our coach from us this year, so they're probably going to go get a D2 coach from somewhere else that has some success. And then in the next 1 or 2 years, they're going to run him off again. So I expect Southern to be in purgatory for about the next 8 to 10 years, just for the simple fact the last 2 to 3 coaches, they fired them within 2 years. They're not even letting their coaches reach their contract. I need to see who's doing the books over there because they're giving these coaches free money.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, and when it comes to buying a coach out, there's a few places that they make a valiant effort to raise this money to do so. And in my opinion, just this is not a slight, but in my opinion, some of that money could be used for other areas such as nutrition,
Yep.
NIL, facilities, right? To enhance their program versus always being ready to fire a coach.
Yep.
I think that part of the issue at Southern, in my opinion, outside looking in, and from the few people I know on the inside as well, you got to give a coach more than 2 years, right, to really show you something. And when you make kind of knee jerk reactions and you go and hire Dooley and you pretty much overpay him, and
Yep.
then you say we're gonna fire him, right, and then you're gonna say we're gonna hire somebody else. That line was funny. Um, I think that that's a detriment to your program. I don't see how you can have consistency, actually build something, and maintain it from there. If you're gonna, you're not gonna have a stick to itness to it and let a coach fully play this thing out.
Right.
The other thing is, I will say it to the recruiting point, right? And I think Kisanova touched on it in the comments. J Max talked about it on the show last night at Swacking the Food. He hinted that they basically didn't do, much of a darn thing, right? And
Yep.
and it kind of looks like the same stuff we saw at PV. And it's
Mm-hmm.
matter what we know happened at
Yep.
PV. Right.
Yep.
So it's not even speculation. I can tell you on first-hand account. Coaches, high school coaches saying these Bamas was not coming to our school. That PV has not been here in years.
Yep.
Right. which is a lack of just not doing the job, right? Not getting out there recruiting, going to the mixers, hosting coaches, all those different things that are required, especially in the state of Texas. So I say all of that to say, when you don't go out there and recruit for your needs, right?
Yep.
To give some help to Kelby Gibbons. That would have been at least the smartest thing you could do, in my opinion,
Right.
right? Forget having 12 quarterbacks. I need to help this brother on the D line, right? Because we could have some serious problems. We could create some serious problems. When you have 4 turnovers in a game, I don't care what game you're playing. If you got 4 turnovers in a game, you're not winning that ball game more often than not. And when you keep, trying to keep people on your staff, right, and they're not moving you forward,
Yep.
that's those 3 things are a recipe for disaster. And in my opinion, right, even though they made it to the SWAC championship last year, if I'm Graves, I fire Mark Frederick. Right,
Yep.
I do a retool of my whole staff. If what you're doing now, you should have done well before now. If Fred was going to be your OC, make him your OC and say, hey, we got to free up this thing and move this thing around because I'm trying to keep my job. Right now, you're playing against your own self. So
Right.
I say all of that to say, it's going to be interesting to see. I don't wish them the best. But keeping to the game itself, time of possession was pretty split. Southern had 29 minutes, Bama State had 30. Like I said, 4 turnovers for Southern, only 1 turnover for Alabama State. At the end of the day, the stats are, really not, the 4 turnovers is bad, but they're really not that far apart from each other.
Right.
But Southern just couldn't convert. They couldn't get the
Nope.
points on the board, and that's a problem. So, nevertheless, we can keep it rolling. This next
Now,
game, man.
but
Oh,
last
go
thing,
ahead, go ahead.
last thing,
Mhm.
Southern also had 4 turnovers. You're not beating anybody in the SWAC with that 4 turnovers, 9 penalties for 94 yards. That's all I gotta say. You had 2 picks, 2 fumbles.
We had 9 penalties too this past week, so we can't talk too
Hey,
much.
one game at a time. One game at a time. One game at a time. But
Better than
with their
15,
four
but
turnovers, it's hard to beat anybody like that. And I'm sorry, giving Andrew Body the ball 4 extra times or 4 more times than you get, you're gonna lose. I'm sorry. It is what it is. And Andrew Body didn't even have that great of a game. And that's not even a dig at him. I'm just saying the best player, the most talked about player going into week 2, didn't even have that type of performance, and they still thumped you for 30-7. So these are the things. This is why people get fired and children grow hungry. Right here, not retooling, not understanding that we are in 2025 in football, and that recruiting is not the season's over, let's recruit. You have to recruit 24/7 all throughout the year. And that's just my last statement about Southern Jaguars.
absolutely. Well, this next game, Alabama A&M versus Alcorn State. This game, actually surprised me in a way. I didn't think Alcorn could score points. Uh,
Yeah,
and they
yeah,
put up a lot of points, even though they didn't come out with the win. For his final score to be 41-31, Alabama A&M, for them to be kind of tossing it up, definitely caught me off guard. And hey, I had Alabama A&M winning this game. Right now, it just seems like Alcorn is working through some struggles, both on the field, off the field. I know they have some budget concerns they're trying to keep in mind. And so, at the end of the day, the big thing for me with this game, Quiet Brown at Alabama A&M,
yep,
25 for 34, 3 touchdowns. And I
yep.
watched the highlights earlier today. Boy, they looked like some good touchdowns. I mean, he was walking in the end
Mhm.
zone. He probably could have got 2 more,
Yeah,
right? And so he just had himself a really good day. He threw for 260. Um, you know, uh, Edwards, the running back at Alabama A&M, rushed for 80. And so, definitely a high scoring game. Not sure where the defenses were for either team, but nevertheless, it was definitely a good home opener for Alabama A&M. And what do you think about it? What did this game kind of show you?
it showed me 2 things. This is the first year that the SWAC East is actually competitive since post-COVID. I can't tell you who's going to win the East as of right now between Jackson, Bama State, and Alabama A&M. I'm happy for the state of Alabama that almost every school in that state is having success. On that other end, Alcorn, I knew they were bad when they lost to Northwestern week 1, but this showed me how just stagnant and how their team has no life. They went into Alabama A&M and got manhandled the entire time. Whenever a quarterback gets to show out for 5 touchdowns, getting player of the week, 25 of 34, no turnovers, man. That is when I look at the coaching staff, I look at the players on the field, and I said, hey, you guys did not do a good job of getting ready for this game. Granted, I had no idea Quad Brown could play up to this capability myself. However, we play them week 10 or something like that. I just want to list off some other things. They had Maurice Edwards the fourth, where he had 21 carries, 80 yards for a touchdown. Quad Brown had 7 carries, 69 yards, 2 touchdowns, 192 rushing yards. I don't see how Alcorn can beat anybody in the West this year, giving up 200 rushing yards and 250 passing yards a game. I know when they play us, we're going to do something similar because when I watch Alabama A&M play, I've seen a lot of us in them, style-wise. Alabama A&M looks for real. Alcorn looks like they might only win 2 games in the conference. I don't know how long I can't remember the coach of Alcorn State. Currently, he is
Cedric Thomas.
Cedric
Cedric
Thomas,
Thomas.
Mr. Cedric Thomas. Your seat's hot, brother. You got to lock it in. You got to dial it in right now. We got to figure out what's going on our offense. We threw the ball 33 times. We only had 168 yards and 1 touchdown. However, we had a running back give us 12 carries, 115 yards, 1 touchdown. We had another running back give us 12 carries, 51 yards for 2 touchdowns. So we know what works. But like we say all the time, you can't run the ball when you're down 30 in the first half.
Absolutely. I'd say that, with Alcorn, they don't really have the capacity to fire him and pay him out. So he's going to be there another year. But I think it'll be an unpleasant situation if this trend continues. And they don't get some key wins and, he really, get a chance to state his case. Um, but stranger things have happened in the SWAC. So, I'm saying that I'm not an Alcorn insider or anything like that. So, maybe they prove us wrong and do something totally different. But, all in all, I would say as of now, you stop Quad Brown, you may have a good chance to stop Alabama A&M, right? Because he
Right.
looks really, really good. This is not the first game he's looked good in. He put up a valiant effort in the Arkansas game. He's a big guy, 6'5", 6'4", 6'5", long frame, can really run. So he's
Yep.
dual threat, and he can beat you with his legs, and he can also spin that rock. So it looks like Alabama State isn't the only Alabama SWAC school with a quarterback.
Sure
And
enough.
I'm actually looking forward to this game. If we end up not rolling to that Alcorn game, maybe we should consider going to Huntsville. I know few of the people from PV got a bus or something going out to Huntsville, so maybe that's what trip we make. And plus, they got a nice campus and all that. So
Right.
that may be one stat I did want to, and we can move on after this because we can move on to our game. But one stat I did want to bring up that this one was really impressive to me. The home attendance for their home opener for the Lewis Cruz Classic was 15,147 individuals. Now I know
Yep.
Alcorn brought a decent crowd, but let's call it, 15% of that crowd was Alcorn people. So you're still looking at well over, 13,000 folks who were there for Alabama A&M. That's impressive. Um, Spears to Alabama A&M. I
Right.
know it's a classic that they've started, but nonetheless, it's still great, and that's how you have a home opener. For PV Nation, we have to do better. There's no doubt about that, and that's what it looks like to not make excuses and make it happen. because they have not always had the strongest attendance metrics, right? And so they're definitely excited about their program, and it shows. And we have a lot to be excited about. And I think we need to make a more valiant effort, not on homecoming, not on State Fair Classic, not on Labor Day Classic, because we already do those well. It's the other game, and not even Southern doesn't come to us or this year, so don't even
Right.
count on that. So we need to make sure year in and year out, right, at our home field, we're creating and crafting a home field advantage that says, hey, if we put in 147 in our 15,000 seat stadium, that's a sellout. That's people
Exactly.
sitting on the grass, right? That's a much totally different experience. And that's what
Yep.
we want every week for five weekends, 5, 6 weekends out of the year. So, just another little call to action there. But the game that we saw in person, TV versus UTRGV Vaqueros, the Cowboys. I probably should have came on here with an ice bag because they got us. Okay, they socked us an eye. I know Kaylor stepping away, but this game right here definitely was winnable for PV. We spotted them a lot of points up front, and uh, we can't let that happen anymore, right? I think it was very defeating to see them just kind of roll off the bus, barely warm up, and then next
Yep.
thing you know, you blink and it's 17 on the board, right? And we
Yep.
we just started out cold. So tell me, I know you were yelling and I was carrying on too at the stadium. What? Tell me about the game. What you thinking?
I'm gonna be honest. My experience as a first year season ticket holder, I'm very disappointed. I'm just being honest. I'm very disappointed, and we're gonna get into the team. I want to get into us as a not only a community but as a university and a fandom. We've got to do better, season ticket holders. I understand we do have a few season ticket holders that do live out of the state or out of the city. I'm gonna say out of the state because Dallas to Houston is, if we were in Louisiana, you'd be in another state. So I understand that. However, that's not the case for everybody. My entire row that I sat on, row 9, section 107, was empty, except for about 3 people. If you were in section 107, row 9, go ahead and let me know. Shout out to you. But there was not enough people in the paid season ticket holders section. I'm sorry. We sold the most we ever have, supposedly, and nobody
Which
still
I
showed up.
which I don't know that that's fully accurate, but this is the most that we've ever tracked and announced. Put
Okay,
it that way,
okay.
because I'm of the opinion, and then also, well, yeah, I don't want to go dig all into that, but it's a good thing that we have a number to kind of go off of, but that's another area we have to improve and be intentional about. Hey, okay, if we broke over 1,000 this year, we need to be pushing for 1,500 next year, right?
Right.
So just to be able to hold our department accountable in that area and being proactive. But to your point, I'm section 107, row 7. Well, my seats are row 7 and row 6, and there were quite a few seats that I know people have bought, but they weren't there in person. And we had a little light rain, but other than that, you know, why spend 350 a ticket and not be there? You know what I
Exactly.
mean? That just that's one thing for sure. Mr. Malone brings up a very good point we've been harping on for a long time. Now, I will say, let me talk about the positives and game day experience. I don't know if y'all saw the smoke machines. They didn't run out
Yep.
of the tunnel. Praise the Lord. I'm so tired of that high school looking tunnel anyway. Right? We are a college football program, a Division I program at that. So they didn't have the inflatable tunnel, but they had the smoke machines, which was a nice start, right? But we have the capacity to do so much more, right? Line the band up, right? Have the cheerleaders out there, get the flames, get the fireworks, all that kind of stuff. That's stuff that we definitely need to implement in order to take it up a notch. And I know another point, and I'll get off my soapbox after this, is just the scoreboard. We have a nice new beautiful scoreboard update that we've done, but doggone it, it doesn't seem like they touched them speakers at all.
No,
And that
no,
that
they
was the
didn't.
issue. That was the real issue. Okay, yeah, we go upgrade something. Let's upgrade the speakers. Because
Right.
that right there was some foolishness, right? And I will be at the coach's show tomorrow to talk to the peoples about it. But and make sure you're there at Bar 5015 if you're in Houston on Alameda, right there in Third Ward in TSU's backyard for the coaches show. If you don't want to wait for the replay to come out, come on out in person if you can make it. We love to have you. But nevertheless, that's from a game day experience standpoint. That's what kind of grinded my gears as well. Is just we're doing a few things, but we still have a long way to go when talking about getting people off their feet, out of their seat, and making some noise.
Yes. Also, Marching Storm, you guys had a terrible day, terrible performance, and I need more effort from you guys. I don't understand why we section off this very large area for all of you guys, for you guys to sit down and play nothing. That's embarrassing. You guys got blown out by not another band from UTRGV. You got blown out by the crowd of UTRGV. I didn't hear any fanfare till the third quarter. You guys played Swamp one time and one time only. I can't tell you another song that you played. Another thing, whoever the DJ is, I need him gone immediately. We do not go to football games and listen to brunch music. I do
But
not want to
Kaylor
be
about to
down 17 points in the first quarter and hear Tevin Campbell, "Can we talk?" If I had hair, I would have ripped it off my head. That makes no sense. And that is why everybody disrespects us till this day. Because y'all think we're supposed to go to the football game and mac on women and exchange numbers and eat chicken and waffles, bruh. No, I want to see football. My linemen eat with their hands. We shouldn't be acting like we're on a date and we're losing in a football game.
Well,
Though
Kaylor gonna get us canceled.
we got to change our game day atmosphere. I shouldn't be the only one yelling in the stands. And then I don't want to say you guys, I don't want to point anybody out. And then there are people looking at me like I'm crazy. No, ma'am. Our team just came back down 17-0. Your butt's still in the seat. We have to be better as fans. We have to show up. We have to show out. We have to cheer. If we want to make our game day event better, we have to start with us. It starts with us. I'm sorry. We can't let no DJ play the songs for us. Marching Storm, do your job. Do your job.
Elvin's comment is interesting, being told to sit down. You know, let me say this, in person, this is a holy channel. I keep emphasizing. Lionel don't let us go off the range, which I'm fine with. We're professionals, etc. But let me tell you, I don't care about none of that they talking about because we're here for a football game, right? We are
Yes.
here to win, right? We're here to support our team. We're not at the church congregation. We're not at the
Yep.
church picnic. We're not at a deacon board meeting. This is a football game. And let me be clear, we love the Storm. Everyone on this platform, everyone behind the scenes, all that, we love the Storm. However, it's not just us saying these things. There's people in the stands, right, who are not on the platform, who don't have an Instagram page or whatever else, that are saying, I really wish they would play something. Or I really wish they would come up with some more chants. I really wish they would get a little bit more into it at the appropriate times. Make some
Right.
noise on third downs when we're on defense, right? Understand there's a time and a place for song selection, right? And that's including the DJ as well, right? This whole angst between the band versus everybody else and versus the fans, it's time to cut it out, right? And that's speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for Lionel or anybody else. It makes a lot of us sick that we pay, we're paying thousands of dollars for several tickets to come to a game, and we hear a song. We don't hear really a real song until the late in the third quarter.
Come on.
That has to stop.
Come
Right.
on.
But nevertheless, I didn't mean for this to be, that's PV versus PV Nation podcast after dark. Okay. We're gonna keep it light. We're gonna move on. Right. Because y'all really gonna get it on and popping. But all in all, the game itself, we're going to lose 27-21. You know, like I said, this was a winnable game. We should not have spotted this many points, but what I will say I was proud of to see the adjustments we made and the willingness to pull our quarterback, who we love dearly,
Yep.
Peters, and put in Carter in order to give us some momentum that we needed, and it didn't take long. He came in and started making things happen right away, and so that was good to see that. We have the depth. It showed up right, and we were able to go ahead and get back in the game and actually take the lead before an untimely fumble, which that just happens, right? But all in all, that final score really doesn't reflect how good of a game we played in the second half. Now,
Yeah.
can we put it together in the first half as well? Is what we need. Because
Yeah.
we can't go into this weekend with that kind of game plan. It will not work.
Nope.
Right. So, that's kind of that. And other than that, I will say two other, and this is my last 2 points because I know I've been running. Marburger, Eddie Lee Marburger, the quarterback for UTSA. He started his career at UTSA, University of Texas San Antonio, which is an FBS program. Him and Cam Peters were actually in the quarterback room together. He had significant playing time there. So this guy is a seasoned guy, and he looked like it. He carved it up.
Sure did.
Right, no doubt about that. He was 19 for 31, 263 yards and one touchdown himself. And then that number 14 they got, that receiver,
Tony Diaz.
Tony Diaz, that boy is nice.
Yeah.
That guy is nice. He is
Yeah.
solid. He made some really nice catches. And you can see the separation he was getting just beating people with his feet. So all in all, UTRGV came to play. They're a respectable opponent. The verdict is still out on how good they'll be in the Southland. But I think as the season goes on, a lot of people will be surprised how well they do with this being their first year at the FCS level with the program and whatnot. And they have some serious money behind them. So I expect when we go back to them next year, we gonna get our get back then. So that's what I got on it. But how about you, Kaylor?
Definitely, man. From a coaching aspect, I believe that UTRGV was really well prepared to play us. They were somehow able to come out in a shell that made it seem as if they would let us have the flats, and then before you know it, we got two DBs sitting there. So I feel like Cam wasn't able to consistently hit the flats, and then once he kind of gave up on it, when it actually was open, he was afraid to just kind of try it and look for it. As you mentioned, we had a extremely slow start, and I think it was for mainly two reasons. One, kickoff. Our kickoff team is horrible. We have to be able to either kick the ball completely out of the end zone or find a way to not kick it at all. We tackle poorly, and we allow people to. I think we average 40 yards a kick return. Something we have a crazy number like that right now. That gave UTRGV in the first half really, really great field position to where our defense really didn't stand a chance. Offensively, this is my second week in a row saying it. The offensive line has to get better. They have to gel. They have to be able to pick up their blocks and win their matchup. Too many times this game, there was pressure in the backfield. Our running backs could not even find a single hole to get through to establish a running game. It just felt like at times in the first half, UTRGV knew what plays we were calling on defense. And that's not something that I felt watching week one. And I also felt we somewhat lost our identity in the middle of that first half. When they pulled Cam, I wasn't against it. And I was really, really glad to see the talented Tevin Carter. I believe he's a hidden gem, and he has an ability to be able to change the game with just his feet. And he allowed us to claw back into the game down 17 points. My one problem with that is, I don't want to say it's a problem, but I guess what I'm worried about is I feel like Tevin is so good offensively. Our team looks completely different. I feel like you can call more plays with him. You can get a lot more. It was easier to get the run game going. Another thing is I felt like the team had a new sense of momentum underneath them. It felt like they wanted to play for him. I don't want to tell stories. I don't want to do that, but it just feels like the team had this burst of energy when he went out on the field. And when he converted that 3rd and 12, he dropped back for a pass and then he just ran straight up the middle and did it by himself 2, 3, 4 times that one particular drive and got us actually on the board. That showed me that we might have another team with Tevin Carter, and we might be able to get past this hump where we're getting stuck at 20 points a game and really be able to not only establish the run game, but have a lot more consistent passing game with our talented wide receivers that really didn't get going till the second half.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to talk about one other aspect of this game, and we can move on. Special teams.
Yeah.
We don't look the best on special teams, and that's an area that I feel like in our conference we don't spend not all the teams spend enough time refining and honing on how important that is and how that can win you ball games or it can cost you ball games.
Right.
We started this game off with a pooch kick, right,
Yep.
to the second level, and they ended up, you know, and this is let me back up. Another thing is we kept giving them short fields to work off of. So it doesn't work to our benefit if we know that they can toss that rock. They have some guys that are getting open, right? To even give them short fields and not make them drive up and down the field, right? The full 100 yards. So all in all, special teams just did not look up to par. And that's a big area that I'm hoping to see improved upon this week. Not next week, not it's this week, because we have to get that together. That can keep us in games and that can also cost us games. And I feel like this is one of the games where it did cost us in the end, not being able to, to do what we need to do. I know that we're still a new team, 73 new guys, all that, blah, blah, blah. But the expectation is still the expectation. There is an expectation and a standard at PV. It may not be talked about as much. Y'all may not hear it on the internet, but trust me, the people who need to know, they know. Right. And
Right.
so, that is what it is. And I would love to see an improvement this week. If I don't get anything else, I want to see a dramatic improvement in special teams this week against Rice.
Definitely. Yeah.
And speaking, so go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Mhm.
and another thing that I would love to mention as well, like I said, we played so bad in the first half. I can't even point out one particular group, one particular player that was the cause of the slow start. Like even our wide receivers, I kid you not, we had 6 drops in the first half. We finished with 8 drops for the entire game. It's like we just weren't ready to play ball. We forgot to get off the bus. We might have not had our lucky socks on. I don't know what it was, but it just seemed as if the entire first half we were so sluggish. And I truly believe that if our wide receivers make those plays, the game looks a little different. Getting shut down on 4th and goal 4 times in a row, running the ball, we had to do a tush push. That's unacceptable. And I think this game defines our entire year? No. However, I want to be able to confidently say that this is going to be our worst game of the year, because we're not going to beat very many people like this if we're going to keep playing these games like this.
Right. And shout out to Coach Jack, by the way. Today, the PV Football Instagram page, and Lionel just posted the link. He wore one of the PV versus everybody's shirt, All Games Matter, that you guys see Lionel wear all the time. Shout out to him for doing that, exposing the brand, exposing the platform, but more importantly, sending the message that we've even been saying that all games do matter from a fan perspective and also from the players and coaches themselves to understand that we got to win these non-conference games. We don't care who's on the schedule. We want to be always in a position to win, and make sure that we're doing just that. So shout out to him for doing that. And he didn't have to, but he did. So want to say thank you, Coach, if you are watching. And I know we'll see you tomorrow, but nevertheless, I want to roll into the preview for the game this weekend. I know a lot of you guys in the comments have already hit me up saying y'all are going to be there. Get your ticket if you haven't already. I think the lowest price is like $26 on the visitor side. But we play a Rice team that just got the socks beat off of them by U of H this past week. They lost 35-9. They seem to have a pretty young team, new head coach. It seems like a ripe situation to right the ship on the game we gave away a few years ago versus them. ESPN's model has a prediction of 28-24 with Rice winning. Being in 4 points tells me that we're close enough to win this game. And I trust the coaching still. I still trust the coaching to help us achieve that and actually pull off this upset. Um, I also have a sense of realism. They have more scholarships and more funding behind them, et cetera, than we do in their FBS. But I think if there was ever a better chance at us or an FCS program in the SWAC upsetting the school, a team like Rice is one of our best shots. So we want to make sure that we go out prepared and we're ready to do just that. Looking at this week coming up, what do you think, Kaylor? What do you think is going to be the keys to the game? How do we leave Museum District, West U with a W? 'Cause that's what we want.
Hey, we gonna have to be dogs for 4 quarters. We gotta play a 4-quarter football game. We gotta get off the bus hot. I know my defense is ready. I don't gotta tell my defense nothing. The number 1 defense in the SWAC, I don't gotta pep talk them. I don't gotta motivate them. Nothing. I just need them to be who they are. I need a little bit more hate in their heart, but I need them to be who they are, and I need them to be well hydrated, well rested, because it's gonna be a long, tough physical game. They're gonna run the ball about 50 times. My offense, we have to win the possession game. We cannot allow ourselves to go 3 and out multiple times. We cannot allow ourselves to be 3rd and 2 and then turn it into 3rd and 12 because of a holding. We cannot allow ourselves to not get the play in time. Now we got a delaying game on 3rd and 1. We must be physical, we must be fast, and we must be confident in how we're going to execute our offense. In my opinion, Rice watched that UTRGV game, and they know all they have to do is basically play a little cover 2, a little cover 4. Hey, if you take the flats away from them and force them to throw it deep, either Carter or Cam Peters is going to have to figure out how to get that ball there. And then they're just going to play in the trenches and take the running game away from us. Bigman, Campbell, those have been the only 2 running backs that we've seen so far. I've been waiting to see McDowell. We're going to need that running back room to consistently get us ahead and consistently get us in short yardage, 3rd down situations for us to open the passing game. I think this game is going to be a lot more physical than what people think and what people give Rice credit for. And I truly am excited to see it, even with us being a 25-point favorite. And I'm willing to make the argument that the game is going to be a lot closer to 10 points than 25 points.
Yeah, with them being a 25-point favorite.
Yeah, I don't think they blow us out like that.
No, I don't either. And the Truth Seeker brings up a very good point. Not allowing Rice to run up the scoreboard early,
Yep.
playing catch up is draining. We have shown that we can do it, right? And we've shown one time we can win a game playing catch up, and we showed another time where we just didn't come out ahead. But we don't want to do that this game. I think a major key to this game is going to be putting them away early. Rice
Yep.
scored 14 points to win versus UL, a game 14-12 2 weeks ago. And they put up 9 whole points with only one single touchdown coming from the freshman quarterback, Jenkins. They have who was 10 for 12 with 1 INT last week versus U of H. So don't get me wrong, they can score, but they haven't shown a propensity to score over 14 points. So if
Yes.
we get out to the type of lead that UTRGV got out on us, what does that game look like to play, maintain, try to advance, advance the score with field goals, touchdowns if you can, getting better field position and really trying to run the clock out. What does that game plan look like? And how can
Right.
we go about, I think how can we go about achieving that? If we can figure that early on, whether you start Peters or Carter, no, never mind. Whoever you think gives you the best shot to do that. let's roll with it and get on the board early and try to get that momentum on our side. Because
Right.
I really do think that this could be a really good chance to be this could be, monumental for our program as a whole, right? Going from 80 game losing streak to FBS upset, a feat that nobody in our conference has done since the 80s. So
Right.
we got our shot. It's not Baylor, it's not Arizona, it's not U of H, it's Rice. And I say that, meaning we have a chance at beating them if we don't beat ourselves. And so, yeah, man, it should be a good game nonetheless. Um, the best part of the show, I know we've been on here an hour, so we're gonna try to move along. Week 3, our pick'ems. We got some pretty good games coming up. Alabama A&M versus Tennessee State, the Legacy Series opener. New kind of little partnership classic they've started. They've always had a little rivalry between them as they're so close to each other. Um, Reggie Barlow versus Coach Sam Shade. What is
Yeah.
that going to look like? Both first year head coaches. Um, Bethune-Cookman versus South Carolina State, and then Albany State versus Florida A&M. Kind of some of the 3 games we have highlighted to talk about. So tell me what you're thinking about the Alabama A&M versus Tennessee State game.
Man, that's a very, very good game. I had the pleasure of watching Tennessee State versus I'm trying North Carolina A&T, I believe.
Yeah, they played A&T. Yeah,
Yeah, week
they played
one.
A&T.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so I was able to watch them play, and I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty impressed with Tennessee State and what they have. I'm just not familiar with their history over the last few years of their performance. But do believe, based off what I've seen, I believe that Tennessee State's defense will be able to hold it a little bit better together than Alabama A&M. However, I do think that will be a great game regardless. I think it's going to be a one-score game, and potentially who has the game last. I mean, who has the ball last will end up winning this game.
Right. Um, yeah, I got Alabama A&M. I think I trust their offense just a little bit more. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee State won, but this is going to be a heavily contested game and should be a strong showing. And keep in mind, I know it's another HBCU, but they're still an out of conference opponent,
Yep.
and another FCS conference. So anytime we can stack those wins, we want to do so as a conference. And keep it up, fam. You better keep hoping and praying because I don't see that happening, brother. We don't want to go to Jackson no more. We want y'all to come to us. Coach said it, we saying it, and that's the plan. So we're gonna try to make that achieve. We're gonna try to achieve that. We don't have any cupcake games on our schedule outside of homecoming,
Yep.
which was a snafu within itself. So we're not playing Tuskegee and Little School of the Blind and all that stuff. So we can't pad the stats, but we still intend to host the SWAC championship. Um, but nevertheless, yeah, I think that's going to be interesting. Bethune-Cookman and South Carolina State, that's really not that interesting to me. I think
Mm-mm.
that I'm trying to remember where this game is being played. I don't know if it's in Daytona. It may be in Daytona.
No, I think it's
Which
a home game for South Carolina State. I think.
it's a home game. They're traveling to. Oh yeah, they're not winning that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they're not going to
Yeah.
win that. I mean, that's there's not much more to say. I think Coach Woody is on his way out at Bethune-Cookman, and they'll be back to the drawing board here soon.
Yeah. And honestly, once they get to playing past the peas over there in South Carolina State, and they're having a good time, it's over with for them. I'm gonna be honest with
Yeah.
you, man. Bethune hasn't looked good in the last. I'm not gonna lie, they haven't looked good since the merger, and them coming over to the SWAC. I see this being a blowout game. I could definitely see this getting out of hand in the first half. Um, to be honest, only reason why they really made it to the pick'em list is because it was the most reasonable game this week. Um, but yeah, I got South Carolina State winning big.
Yeah. Now BCU pulls off the upset. What's the narrative?
The narrative would be South Carolina State just kind of probably blew a game at home.
Mm.
It would be hard for me. I mean, unless Bethune Cookman is a lot better than what they've shown, I'm just not seeing it. I see South Carolina State winning their conference again uh, and dominating this game versus Bethune Cookman.
Okay, I'm gonna
Uh,
be a little I'm gonna be a little messy here. Albany State, FAMU. Listen,
I
y'all.
don't think it's gonna
My
be as messy as
official,
you think. It's
my
not gonna be as
my
messy as you
official,
think.
my official pick is Florida A&M wins this ball game. But
Woo!
let me be clear: if Albany State pulls this ball game off, I am going to be rushing to Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, the Spreaker app, every app I can find, right? To hear the 220 Club. I'm gonna be a part of the 220 Club that week. I'm ready to see some fireworks. Okay, yeah, fire 'em. Yeah, that's it. I think that if Albany State wins this game, man, it's gonna be some sad singing and flower bringing in Tallahassee, man. I just, one can only hope that they make some changes, and obviously get this win that they should put away pretty easily. But if you messy, change your pick. Now I said I was messy. I didn't say I was dumb. Now y'all not gonna mess up my picks. I have a pretty good track record, but uh, all in all, I think they should go ahead and pull it out just from a talent perspective. But I will say the head coach at Albany State, and something you got to put in your notes, SWAC fans, PV fans, just to kind of look at over the weekend. The head coach is Quinn Gray, Florida A&M graduate at Albany State, played in the league, I believe, had a great career. He's coaching them up, and they have a really good quarterback, a really good team. And they're going to be. I think the quarterback threw for over 300 this past week at Albany State. So he's throwing that rock, and they're coming in confident, and they're right up the road for them. So do not be surprised if this game is a lot closer. Than, uh, closer than what people expect them to be, expect it to be. But y'all keep this Ed Reed thing going every year, man. Y'all gotta let it rest, man. After the Bethune thing, I would be hard pressed to see anybody pick him up. I just think it rubbed too many people the wrong way. But I'm not saying it wouldn't be cool. I'm not saying one way or the other, but I think y'all should probably give it a rest. Uh, on Ed Reed, but you know, but yeah, I think all in all, FAMU pulls his game off, and they do what they're supposed to do. So
Oh man, I'm gonna be honest. I'm picking Albany. It's something about a team that struggles scoring a touchdown in a game. It's hard to beat anybody. It's hard to beat the Katy Youth Football Tigers. It's
mm.
hard to beat the Southland Tigers, and it's gonna be hard to beat Albany. They still have a quarterback problem. They still have a head coach problem. They still have a lack of talent problem. There is so much tremendous pressure on FAMU in Bragg, considering that the streak is gone. The fans are pissed. And you know how it gets when you got 17,000 fans on both sides of your stadium, very unhappy with not only the coach, but the product on the field. If they go down 7-0, and those fans get to chattering, that alumni looks over and says, hey, man, this guy Cozy has to go. Hey, neighbor, I'm not liking our quarterback situation. Hey, neighbor, how many times are we going to let a D2 school keep hitting us on top of the head with that play action pass? I think it could get real ugly real fast. And if FAMU's defense doesn't keep this game tight, Cozy will be fired by Halloween.
You think it's gonna
They
take
can't
that
just
long?
win this game. They got to win this game by like 2-3 scores.
I think he'll be back to umpiring way before Halloween. He loses his game. I just don't. I, I just don't see a route where they keep him. Which, like I said to my point earlier, I think is unfortunate. That money could go to a lot of other places, but I also understand the sentiment. You know what I mean? Like at PV, we do things a little bit different. So we're it'll be hard pressed for us to just go and fire our coach we still owe money to,
Right.
and pay him out, even though we have the capacity to do it. I don't ever see us doing that, just because that's just not how things are run here. But all in all, we shall see. Should be a pretty decent slate of games. There's some money games still going on. Alcorn's going to Mississippi State. Prayers for Alcorn. Because I don't even know what to tell you going into that game. Just
Yep.
stay healthy, get your check, and come on home. And and we, like I said, we'll see what happens with us versus Rice. But I think the last topic I want to kind of talk about, since we were talking about it, celebrity coaches. People talking about it, reading the chat. We might as well just have a little brief dialogue about it. How do you feel about celebrity coaches coming into the HBCU space? Um, because I have some thoughts on it. So
Me personally, I'm not a fan of grifters. Never have been, never will. If said celebrity coach was good enough to coach anywhere else, I promise you, he wouldn't look at FAMU. He wouldn't look at Jackson State. He wouldn't look at you name it, right? And I think we've seen that time and time and time again. Dion, in my opinion, is an enigma. He can't coach, right? But due to his presence and due to his notoriety, he's able to get and persuade a lot of talent to want to play for him and want to play for Prime. But at the same time, you got guys who are celebrities but are genuine about football, i.e. Deshaun Jackson, i.e. Michael Vick. The only problem that I have with them is a regular, how do I explain it? The regular coach who worked his butt off, who been a GA since he was 21 years old, doesn't get a shot till he's 40 years old. But a celebrity coach could walk in at 32, 35. He could just walk in wherever, don't have a year of coaching. He all he did was coach KDU football league. And then all of a sudden we're giving him $1 million over 3 years and saying, hey, here's our program, do what you can. And I'm just not a fan of it personally. I think that there are over the last few years, other than Dion, there has been more actual real coaches than celebrity coaches with better winning records and actually won the Celebration Bowl, i.e.
boom.
TC, i.e. Coach Oliver at North Carolina Central, i.e. Sam Shade at South Carolina State, i.e. Willie Simmons, right? So I feel like just based on the numbers that we have right now, I want a regular coach personally. That's just me.
Okay. Um, so let me say this. Who needs a celebrity coach? Well, let me back up. Boom is spilling some secrets. Go back to Boom's comment. Yeah, that's what y'all don't know. That's what y'all don't know. Coach Prime was almost a Prairie View Panther. Okay. Um, but that's neither here nor there. Who needs a celebrity coach? Pine Bluff. Who needs a celebrity coach? Mississippi Valley. Right. And I say that I say that jokingly, but I also say seriously. I think the key thing we have to keep in mind is every program is different. We're not all the same. Not all the challenges are the same at each school, right? And that's not to be elitism. That's just the truth, flat out truth. Like, even though both of our school colors are purple and old gold, the challenges at Alcorn are much different than the challenges at PV,
Right.
right? So, I kill to have a little bit more fan support like they get at home, right? And when we play at home, right? But I'm sure they love to be in more classics like we play with the State Fair Classic and the Labor Day Classic. And, the Southern game's a big game and et cetera, et cetera. And to be in the Houston, area. So, or the Houston MSA. So, all in all, I think depending on the fit for the program, it's an isolated thing. Is this coach from the area? Do they
Right.
have an understanding of how the school runs? Who are the key administrators? Who are the key donors? Who are the decision makers? Do they know how to engage in fundraising? Because what we need across all of our schools is one word: money,
Yeah.
money. We haven't shown a propensity to get it in TV deals yet. We have not shown a propensity to get it anywhere else. We need a lightning bolt in our corporate giving, in our fundraising efforts, and in acquiring large donors, and in being strategic about our facility infrastructure, deferred maintenance, right, and overall capacity to offer nutrition, NIL, and everything else that's required in today's Division I football game.
Right.
That's what's more important than just the wins. And so to me, I'm looking at it from a business standpoint. If I were to say, hey, we need a celebrity coach, we're trying to leverage them just like they're trying to leverage us. So we're gonna get a Dion for 2 years. First of all, there's never gonna be another situation like that. But just to play, for sake of talking, if we were to get someone like that, we need to go in understanding this is a 2-year deal. Even though it's a 4-year contract, somebody else is probably gonna scoop them up if we have success.
Yep.
And we need to be making sure that we're sustaining beyond that point the business relationships that we generate. That to me is what how you use a celebrity coach. The wins are just a bonus. All right. If you
Yep.
get those, great. Right. But to me, at merchandising, what are some of the best practices that we're not, currently implementing to increase our merchandise sales, right? And be able to make more money from people selling our gear via bootleg. I mean, all those different things. So I think all in all, that's how I would use a celebrity coach, and it has to be the right fit. Does PV need a celebrity coach? I'm going to tell you no, and I probably tell you a few other things if we was offline, right? But there's someone like a Pine Bluff who needs, hey, their fan base, it's shown us so they need that extra jolt. I would
Right.
say that's who needs to call Ed Reed. Right? That's
Right.
who needs to be like, hey, we're gonna pay you whatever we can. We're gonna try to, let's get creative with this thing. If we sell over a certain amount of tickets, you can get a percentage of sale, a percentage of the gross receipts, whatever
Yep.
we're gonna do, right? And we're gonna try to get you a staff and try to go out there and put together a competitive football team to generate interest in our program. So that's my little soapbox on that with celebrity coaches. So maybe we need to do a little call-in feature one of these days and figure out how to do that. But
Oh
because I'm
yeah.
sure,
Oh
there's
yeah.
some of these topics people would love to kind of just call in and chat about. But man, we appreciate y'all. We're still trying to get this show growing. Make sure you share with somebody. We're not the most foremost experts in all this stuff, but we're trying. We're definitely trying to, grow our knowledge and can bring more to the show. And obviously, like and subscribe. And let us know if y'all have any questions. Reach out to us. At 107 Panthers on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. I ain't hard to find. And then Kaylor got his handles as well.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
12th fan 1876. One of the leaders, not the founder, but one of the leaders of the 12th fan cult. Uh, Shout out to Off Script as well for helping us spread our cult-like fan base across the nation. May all Panthers continue to have great days. And guys, I don't want to have this rant again. Make y'all way to the hill. We play Northwestern State next week. We need as many people as we can in the stadium, making noise, having a grand time. Because if we lose that game, we will have more hate on us than flies on crap. Let's come together, PV Nation, and let's support our Panthers, and let's get this season together on our way to Atlanta.
Keep it up, fam. Let me tell you, man. Yes, we are in a system. There are probably a few other schools that could benefit from being in a system. But let me be very clear. What Prairie View does, right? Prairie View does more often than not. We have to fight for everything that we do. So don't sit here and try to discredit what we do. That stadium behind me, that's us, right?
Yep.
It ain't no handouts. So you can cut that crap. But I understand if I played in a very old Confederate stadium myself, I'd probably be pissed too. So, so y'all gonna get me started. So, but nevertheless, we appreciate your support. Make sure you subscribe. We love you, SWAC love, all that, this, and the third, and go Panthers.
Yes,
So,
sir. Go Panthers. Thank you, guys.
all right, y'all.